Welcome to Just Stable Enough, the podcast for horse people who are doing their best, learning as they go, and occasionally questioning every decision they have ever made. I'm your host, Kylie Heffernan, an amateur dressage rider based in the Hunter region of New South Wales, and each episode I'll be sitting down with riders, industry professionals, and horse owners from all walks of life to have honest conversations about horses, what works, what doesn't, and what we can all learn from each other along the way. Today I'm joined by Alyssa Jane, a first-generation Australian cowgirl who has amassed more than 40,000 followers by documenting her journey into breakaway roping. Originally, Alyssa began sharing her progress online in search of feedback and guidance, navigating a sport where coaching and learning opportunities weren't always easy to find. Along the way, she's built a community that follows her successes, setbacks, and everything in between. So welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you. I'm very
Thank you.
excited.
I'm very excited as well, and thank you so much for being my very first guest on the Just Stable Enough podcast. It's going to be a fun ride, I think, this
Yeah,
whole journey.
yeah, I think so.
Before we kind of jump into your, I suppose, experience as a first gen cowgirl and all that wonderful information, we were just chatting offline a little bit about Chevy and his asthma.
Mm.
Do you want to kind of walk us through that? Because I think it's really interesting and it's something like I don't really have any experience with either. So,
Yeah, and no, me either. I didn't know that horses could get asthma.
mm,
Um, and I think it's just one of the like things that's happened to him, like a long list of things that's happened to him. He's dubbed my problem child. But his cough developed in probably the end of April, start of May. So it's been, a couple of months. And it was really inconsistent. And it had been so dry here, right? Like it was, we had no feed in the paddock. They were basically living off of hay. So I kind of just put it down to, oh, maybe, it's just the dust. We'd moved up here from Maitland. We were in paddocks that had really, really good grass and they'd not been fed hay consistently. So I was like, maybe it's just a combination of all of those things. But then it never really got any better despite us like starting to soak hay and give supplements and that sort of stuff. So I had the vet out probably last week, maybe the week before. I can't remember now. Um, and she did all the things they do, the vitals, all of that sort of stuff. Did an ultrasound of his lungs, took some bloods. The ultrasound was mostly fine, except for, God, I'm going to butcher this, like mild pleural changes or something.
okay, I don't know what
I
that
don't
means,
know.
but yep.
I don't know. There was something in his like lung lining that made it look like he had inflammation, which she was like, that tracks because he's got that cough.
Mm,
But all his bloods and everything were normal. So he didn't have like any active infections or anything. So she was like, it's looking more and more like it might be asthma. Um, so he has to go in and have a BAL. I won't even attempt to pronounce the actual word of it because I don't even think I could say it. But they put as much as I know is they put saline into their lungs and let it
okay,
like swish around in there and then they draw it back out. And when they draw it back out, a whole heap of lung cells come out with it. And
cool.
then, yeah. And then they examine those lung cells under a microscope, and based on like the number of cells
Okay.
present, that determines the severity, I guess, of their asthma.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
treatment wise, like I've seen horses with the spacer getting the like, I suppose it's, I want to say nebulizer, but I don't think it is nebulizer.
Yeah, no,
It
you're right.
is? It is?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
So is that like a daily thing that you'll be needing to do or just when it's
Um,
bad?
yeah, they were all my questions to the vet as well, because I was like, what's the actual, like, if he does have asthma, what does
Yeah.
that look like for us? Because is it, is he going to have to be on like nebulizers or whatever it is for the rest of his life, or is it just
Yeah.
like a safe course of treatment or whatever? Um, so apparently it depends on the severity. Um, because we manage our horses differently, I guess, to the way that they're managed overseas, in that our horses are mostly turned out
Mm.
like 24/7. They're not living in like dusty stalls, etc. Because we manage them differently, usually what they do is they'll put them on a course of steroids, inhalable
Okay.
steroids. So for Chev, I think what they've basically said is that it would be a month minimum,
Okay.
2 weeks of really aggressive treatment. So
Okay.
potentially giving him those steroids twice a day
Mm-hmm.
and then tapering it off uh, sort of gradually
Okay.
over the month. Um, you can give them. So they have those nebulizers, I think, that you were probably talking about, where it's like a thing that goes over the end of their nose.
Yeah, it's a full-on looking thing.
Yeah. But they also make, like the spacers that they have for people that are
Yes.
asthmatic.
Yes,
Yes.
I've seen
They
that
make
as
those for
well.
horses too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So
Maybe
it's
that's the
just like,
answer.
yeah, it's like a little tube with a mask on it that goes over one of their nostrils, and you just like administer it like a puffer, like you do
Hmm.
with people asthma. Apparently, it's the same drugs. You can get it on script like you do
Oh
for
my
people.
God.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's so interesting. And it's like really interesting
Mm,
that it's only presented itself, very like promptly now too.
mm,
Because the conditions around here have been really changeable. Like we obviously had that really long period where they were, very much saying that we were going to go into a bit of a drought and it was dry and dusty. So you can somewhat
yes.
understand like, conditions like this coming up, but it's really settled down, but it's still really hot. It's still
Mm,
unseasonably warm
isn't
as
it?
well. Like
I know. It's ridiculous.
it's
We had a
ridiculous.
22-degree, yes, a 22-degree day the other day, and my daughter was running around in like a t-shirt and shorts
It's
in the middle of June.
unbelievable.
Crazy.
It's yeah, like usually we've had a frost by now, and like because I'm
Mm,
Sapient's currently suffering with the itch, and like I've been, obviously documenting his equicourt journey, and it's gotten a lot better, and I'm so glad I did that because I know so many people with horses at the moment who are still
mm,
really, really struggling with managing itch symptoms, and a lot of it's just because we haven't had that frost, which obviously kills off a lot of the midges and those insects that are really causing irritation, and it's just kind
mm.
of like, is winter coming this year or is it not?
Yeah. No, it doesn't
Are we,
feel like it.
we're just skipping?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. Like, I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to complain about it because it's
No.
nice, it's warm, but also I hope this isn't like a sign of what's to come for summer.
Big bad summer. Like,
Mm,
we don't need that. Like, we obviously, it's been a
no.
few years now since we've had really, really terrible fires and whatnot. But it's not just the threat of bushfire. It's just the horrific humidity and how hard it is,
Mhm.
in this area and, up the East Coast as well, dealing with the humidity, especially when you've got horses. Like, it is just,
Yeah, and itchy
it's just,
horses.
yes, and very, very hard work. All right.
Hmm.
So I've got you on today because I kind of want every episode of the podcast to kind of fill a need for someone. Like I want people to be thinking, oh, this resonates with me so much because I think I've been the kind of person to kind of be, I like listening to podcasts. Not everyone likes listening to podcasts, but I do.
Yeah.
And every time I've been trying to look for something, podcasty that kind of spoke to me in the situation that I was looking at, it was often someone international, either
Mm.
English, European, and I know there are more Australians, equestrians getting into the podcast space now. But yeah, I really, as an amateur, I really wanted to create episodes that fulfill the need that somebody has to have an answer, like a question answered, or to feel their experience is valued, or that someone else is going through the same thing that they're going through. And I want to have people on like yourself who have that experience, I suppose, with a really wonderful story and who, you've created a community of over nearly 40,000 people across your social media platforms, which is incredible, in terms of your journey as a first gen cowgirl. And I thought having you on today would just be a great way for that person who's like, I really want to try, even if they're already in the equestrian world, like, I really want to try doing something Western, like, I want to do something
Mm.
different. Or, I don't have horses and I really, it's been a dream of mine to get into them. And I think you've really kind of captured the essence of that experience with your content. And yeah, I'd really like to know, like, how did it all start for you, your journey, I suppose, before even the social media stuff? Because, or did it happen all at the same time?
No, not really. So, I mean, I didn't grow up in a family that was horsey at all. I'm the first person in my family to ride horses. I don't know where that came from. But I was like that kid. Like I think if we, you talk to horse people, there's
Yeah.
always that person that's like, I was that kid that was like turning every piece of furniture into the house into like a pretend horse, begging
Yes.
my parents for a horse, and then being like, no, like where has this come from? Um,
I would
and then
draw them all the
yeah,
time. That was my thing.
yeah, right.
Anyway, go on, please.
I Yeah, I mean, I think I was in my probably mid-teens before I convinced my parents to send me for lessons. But I also grew up in a really small town in Western New South Wales. So there weren't really like a lot of opportunities for lessons.
Hmm.
We were very fortunate. We had lots of friends that had horses. So, we were riding horses on weekends and stuff, but nothing really consistent.
Hmm.
And then I would say, I mean, I had horses in my 20s. I had rescues. I got my rescue horse Spike, who I've had for 15 years.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd never really like rode consistently. It wasn't until after I had my daughter, she's 9,
Hmm.
that I bought my first quarter horse.
Hmm.
And really got like properly into riding. And I think really, I mean, there was no real like intention behind getting into Western stuff. I think it kind of just happened very naturally. Um, the horse that was right for me at the time just so happened to be a quarter horse. And then from there, we just, we went into, we did things like team penning, and we've done team camp drafts and that sort of stuff. Just really low level, like fun stuff, hanging out with your friends on the weekend.
Wait, go
And I
on.
mean, I have never been like, I'm not a particularly brave kind of rider. So
Hmm.
I think, and especially after having like my daughter was, I think she was 1 when we got Porky. Um, I always tell everyone when I speak about him, I'm like, he came with that name. I didn't give him that name. Just
I remember I think there was a strip club called Porky's in King's Cross. That's what it reminds
yeah,
me
I'm
of,
like,
anyway.
he came with that name. I didn't do that to him.
I'm imagining like a fat
Oh yeah,
pony. I don't know if that's correct.
yes, a
Yeah.
um, yeah, but yes, very fat, and I mean that's how he got his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't like I was, I just had a baby. She was 1, I think. Um, really, the goal was just to find something safe, and it just so happened to be a quarter horse, and that kind of was the thing, I guess, that opened the door into like Western sort of stuff.
Mm, mm. And how, as I suppose, a relatively novice and, new rider, how did you, I know you're in more kind of the roping scenes now, but how
Mm,
did you find entryways, like pathways into team penning and the camp drafting space as well?
yeah. I was on agistment when we got Porky. So I had friends who were riding and who were interested in that. So it was really
Okay.
just kind of like it was all, none of it was intentional.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I know you
great
like
though.
yeah, I know you like you want to think like, oh, I went into this and there was a real purpose behind it and I'd really thought
Yeah.
it through. But no, it's kind of, and I think that happens with horses, doesn't it? You're just
Yeah, it
like, oh
does.
yeah, that's just, one
Mm.
day I just woke up and did this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really, I think I hear a lot of team penning around this particular area, like the Maitland kind
mm,
of Hunter Valley kind of stuff as well. And like camp drafting is really interesting because I know how hard it is to get runs and stuff like that. But then you've got guys like, Neil Faint, who does like
mhm,
Texas Star Performance Horses, and they're doing like a lot of like clinics and stuff like that to help people, especially people
yeah,
returning to rider later at life, returning to riding later at life, stuff like that to get their foot in the door and get some runs.
mm,
And they obviously hold that event up at Tamworth every November, is
yeah.
it? Which
I
I
think they
love
do.
as
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to. I think you've got to go to at least one of the clinics to be able to go. But it's like
Mm,
stuff like that I'm really loving seeing, like giving people who are just starting
opportunities.
out, yeah, to have an opportunity because camp drafting specifically, I know like if you, it can be hard to get a run, especially if you're new to an area. And all this I found
Yeah.
really really wacky because like I ride English and it's like you pay your entry fee and it
Hmm.
doesn't matter whether you can do it or not, you're going in, or you'd
Yeah.
like to think that you're going in anyway. So that was kind of like something that I found really interesting, kind of the difference the differences between like Western or, not necessarily Western, as in rodeo disciplines, but, and,
Mm.
English, is that it seems from just looking at it a little harder to kind of get in there.
Yeah,
You know,
I think so.
and there's less, I did a little bit of a binge on some of your content this morning, and you were talking in one of your
Mm.
videos about how, it was just so hard to find someone to do lessons with and stuff like that, just
Mm.
because there's not the availability. And
Mhm.
it's something that I hadn't even thought of, because like I gist with my dressage coach, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and
Mhm.
I've found it easy, especially since moving up here, to get access to things like that. But the more remote you get, not necessarily just with Western stuff, but like you go out into, remote Australia, and like you're not going to be able to have like an FEI coach or someone who's going to be able to help you with your camp drafting living down the road.
Yeah.
So access is, challenging, especially with this stuff. So I found that
Mm.
pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you've navigated that quite well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it did when I had my first horse. And I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that, like you said, you were just with your coach.
Mm.
A lot of that was probably due to the fact that I was at a reasonably sized agistment place at the time. Like I had a lot of friends who were doing that sort of stuff. Um, and I think it was a lot more accessible, particularly the team penning. Like anyone can really have a crack at that.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
cool.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, I know, we used to be sitting there whenever they opened 7 o'clock on a Friday night or whatever, whenever nominations opened, you had to have them in on the dot, exactly at 7 o'clock, because there were that many people who wanted to ride and there are only limited spaces. So I guess, that kind of limits opportunities. But I never really felt like I didn't have opportunities. I
Yeah.
think where I did sort of start to struggle a little bit more was when I decided I wanted to learn to rope.
Yeah, okay. Because that is a little bit different, isn't it? And because there's a lot of skill with the roping as well,
Yeah.
and like, how do you learn that
Yeah,
if your
I
mum
know.
and dad don't teach it to you?
Hmm.
Like I don't really see that many people. And like I work in for a wholesale distributor, and like I work for big Western brands like Resistol, for
Mm.
example. I do their marketing in Australia, and I know a lot of ropers, but and like their kids are coming through and they're learning, and they're going on their merry way and doing very, very
Hmm.
well. But I do think to myself, like, if I ever wanted to rope,
Mm.
how the bloody hell does one learn,
Yeah.
and learn in a way
Yeah.
where you feel
Yeah.
like not like silly bugger?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how did this, like, you've obviously decided at some point that the roping disciplines, I'm gonna call them, was something that you wanted to do. Was there something in
Mm.
particular that inspired, doing something more rodeo based, or was it just always a bit
Yeah.
of a dream?
No, it was Chevy. So
Okay.
I bought he's a rope horse. I didn't buy him with the intention of roping. I bought him because I had Porky and I'd had him, God, quite a while. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. It was quite a while.
I'm
But
giggling every time you
he,
say Porky.
I know, poor guy. I'll have to send you a picture of him and
You
then you'll
please
see the
do.
picture and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense.
Put a horse face to the name.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so I'd had him for a little while and he was really great for me when I was like making that return to writing. But
Hmm.
I then kind of got to the point where I felt like I kind of learned everything that I could from him and I needed that
Hmm.
like next step up, that little bit of a challenge. So I sold him and then bought Chev. Um, and I mean, even that, like the whole thing really, again, completely unintentional. So I put out a Facebook post saying, like, oh, I'm in the market for a horse. This is kind of what I want. If you hear of something that kind of, matches this, can you let me know? And someone that I'd met at a ranch sorting event messaged me and said, oh, my cousin's selling a horse. I'll send you his details. So I messaged him that same afternoon. He said, well, why don't you come up here and have a look? And we went up, a road chev. and that night he was delivered to our agistment. Um, he's a trained rope horse, but that was not what at this point we were still doing a bit of team penning, like we were just trail riding, like I was doing a bit of everything, but I was like, oh, he can rope, that's cool, but that's not my gig. That's not what I'm going to do with him.
Mm.
Um, so I had him for a couple of years, probably about 18 months. And we went to local sporting shows. We did some hack classes. We did team penning. We did team camp drafting. I just did all this random kind of stuff. And then about 18 months into owning him, I was like, well, this horse can rope. Like, why
Hmm.
don't I just learn to rope? And that was the thing that kind of just, again,
I
completely, like, do you know
love
what I mean?
this.
No, like, not intentional at all. Just one day was like, he can do it, so why don't I just learn?
That's such a great way of doing it. Also, like if you've got a horse that's trained to rope, all you need to do is catch up, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's the theory. I know it's a lot harder than that. um,
yeah.
but you can't go out roping if you don't have a horse that can do the job as well. So you're somewhat part of the way there. So I love that Chevy inspired this out of you as well, and that's pretty cool because I think, yeah, like you said, it's just not something that there's an easy pathway. So
No.
I suppose obviously you've gone, okay, the horse can rope. I want to try this. What happened next?
Um, I bought a rope.
Yep.
I bought a rope and I had no idea what I was doing. I don't think I even watched a YouTube video on like how to rope. I might have watched maybe like a handful of TikToks, but I think I went into it being very like, I think I was very like naive about it too, because you see people roping and it
Hmm.
looks easy and effortless. So
Oh,
I think
so
a little
easy.
part of me was like, well, how hard can it be?
But you know what? I think you
And then
need
I
a
was
bit of
fine.
that. I think you need a bit of that when you're starting something new, though. I was
Yeah.
actually talking to my coach about this the other day, and I was saying to her because I got my off the track, and I was so green, and everyone always says green and green makes black and blue, and
Mhm.
the horse is obviously very green as well. And I was just talking to my coach about it in passing, and I was just like, I just don't know if I could do it again, take on like a 5-year-old fresh off the track horse. Like I used to just ride this horse around in the paddock with not a care in the world about where things could go wrong or what was going on. And she was just like, well, Kylie, sometimes like that naivety can actually work in your favor, and you only get to do it once.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you've gone and got the rope and you've started playing with the rope. How are your roping skills at the start?
Oh, they're bad. They're bad. The videos are on TikTok. You can
Okay.
see them. Yeah. Um, so I bought this rope and it was a cheap rope too. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend. So because I mean I didn't know anything about ropes.
So there's good we sell a few ropes at work, but they're not like I know there's like fastback ropes and there are like
Yeah.
different types. Like what makes a good rope versus a poor quality rope, I suppose, a
Yeah.
bad rope.
So the only thing I guess I've really learned about ropes is that you just have to find the best one for you.
Okay.
Yeah. That
It's not
it's a
a it's
it's like Cinderella shoe.
so
Yeah,
it's a
so I
very
mean,
personal thing.
yes. I use a fastback edge.
Yeah.
That's my preference. I've tried a handful of ropes and it's the one that feels the best to me.
Okay.
Um, yeah. I mean, people ask me quite a lot on TikTok. They're like, "Oh, what rope should I use?" And I'm like, well,
Let me get started.
yeah, just go like swing a heap. Just like
Okay.
swing a heap and see what feels best for you.
And like
Yeah,
locally, where are we shopping for ropes? Are you buying them online? Because I think Fastback,
yeah,
you've got to get those online. They're from America, off the top of
yeah.
my head.
Mm,
This is the thing about Western as well. It's like we've obviously got some really good Western retailers in Australia, but like the
yeah.
bulk of amazing stuff is US based. Are you having to buy a lot of stuff direct from America, like gear
No, so
wise?
we have a handful of really good Aussie businesses that stock all of that stuff. So I get most
Cool.
of my stuff from Rock and W.
Okay, yeah. Is that Wade
Um,
Farquhar? Yeah, is that how
yeah,
you say his last
yeah,
name? Yeah.
I think so.
Sorry,
Um,
Wade. I said your last name wrong.
just
I
we're
apologize.
over here butchering words left and right. Um, yeah, or Ropes and Tack SA is another really good one
Okay.
as well. I got stuff from them before. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
cool.
think yeah, I mean, it was just the first rope that I bought was just like this really cheap, stiff. It might have even been like a kid's rope. I don't
Yeah,
know,
okay.
but it probably wasn't the best place to start.
But we're being naive and we're just dipping
Yeah,
our toe in the water and we're having a play. We're figuring out
that's
what
right.
works by potentially
Yeah,
figuring out what doesn't work.
yes, exactly.
And I think
Which has
that's
basically just been the
mhm,
whole process,
yeah.
really.
Let me show you how not to do it.
That's right. If I do all the things wrong, I'll eventually stumble on the thing that's right.
And how beneficial to all of your followers.
That's right.
And at this point in time as well, you obviously said that you put some of this stuff up on your social media. Is this
Mm.
roundabout when you had started sharing a bit of your journey as well?
Mm.
When was there a shifting point, I suppose, when the social media kind of turned into something alongside the first gen cowgirl, and
Yeah.
the breakaway and the roping and whatnot?
I think it probably, I mean, I've had that TikTok account for, oh God, maybe since 2021, quite a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah.
Um, and you're right. It was, I mean, like a lot of social media, it's just a place where you post silly little things,
Yeah.
right? And then I think it probably was around the time where I started to rope that I became, I guess, more intentional about what I was posting there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't necessarily think that was ever like there was never any kind of like strategy
Intention.
behind it
Yeah.
either. Yeah. It was kind of just like I'm trying this thing and I don't really have anyone in my life that is also doing it. So maybe if I post it here, I can one keep track of it myself because I spend a lot of time like going back and watching my own social media videos, which sounds very like narcissistic, but I think it's a really nice way to like, track that journey.
I so agree with you on that. Like, it was funny. Like, I was talking to someone today because I had a little bit of a bad ride today. And I was feeling the way that you feel once you get off your horse and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you've gone 10 step backwards and you're like, oh, it's all over and we're
Yeah.
terrible. And it's nothing really happened, by the way. The horse was just short striding a bit. I think he just needs a bit of body work. Anyway. And she was like, Kylie, you have come so far with Sapien. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, what are you talking about? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, just got PMS and I had a really bad ride. Just hear me out, okay? Hear me
I
out.
just need to wallow in it for like 2 to 3 business
5 minutes.
days
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then and then I'll bounce back.
That's right. But it's so true. I look back, I started probably posting intentionally about a year ago. And I look back even to the first kind of videos that I was doing back then. And I was like, wow, this is cool.
Hmm.
Like, I like the diary
Yeah.
aspect of this.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
And, if you're doing something, like you're trying to get better at something, because it can feel a bit silly at the start, certainly felt very silly many times.
Hmm.
But now I don't feel so silly, especially about the ones I did feel silly about back then.
Yeah.
Because they've been helpful not just for me, but for also for other people.
Mm.
And I feel like that's part of it too, is like when you start realizing that your content is actually helpful for a little community of people,
Yeah.
that changes the game a little bit as
Mm.
well, I think.
Yeah. I think that's the really cool like side effect of it too. Like it's not necessarily the intention when you go into posting videos. It's just kind of something that happens naturally is that people start to see that and they see themselves reflected in it or they see maybe where they were at a certain point and you do slowly kind of build that connection and community with people over time.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose when you were posting your very first roping videos, I'm sure you were getting mixed bag comments because I just know what social media is like, but were you getting people in there as well who were giving you good direction with how to make
Yeah.
it better?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of that interaction and that community that was kind of slowly being built around it all was the thing that kind of made me want to continue to post. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll always say I mostly taught myself how to rope, but really a lot of it was taught to me by people on social media.
Mm.
So I bought that cheap rope, posted that first terrible video. Um, and then I think I put the rope down for like 6 months. I didn't touch it
You were
again
like, oh.
because I was like, I was wrong. Like, that was my humbling moment. I was like, this is actually hard. And I have no clue what I'm doing. And then I don't know, I just picked it up again one day and posted another video. And I was like, okay, I actually want to have a proper crack at like learning how to do this. So can someone who knows what they're doing tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I need to do next? And that first video, it would have had at least 200 comments on it. Like it went nuts. And it was just all these people being like, you're doing this wrong, but like in a nice way,
That's
not
nice. That's nice for
not
you.
a yeah, not the way social media can be sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you need to keep your elbow up or turn your wrist over sooner or whatever it was. Just lots of people saying, try this next. And then I'd try something someone suggested and I'd post another video and be like, okay, this is me trying to improve this aspect of it. And then it kind of just kept evolving, every time I posted a video, someone would be like, okay, you've got that, but now try this. And it just became this series of videos of me, I guess, slowly getting better at roping because people on social media were teaching me how to do it.
I love this. Like, it's kind of like the opposite thing that happens to people sometimes on social media as well. It's like the ultimate unicorn story. I love it because a lot of people are so afraid to post their journey, right, on social media
Mm,
because they're worried about specifically, equestrian people. They're worried about getting
mm.
shot to shit about what they're
Yeah.
doing. But you've just gone here and proved that that's not correct. And I often we all get the crazy people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've kind of, if you do start posting, you just need to kind of prepare yourself for that kind of
Hmm.
feedback. But a lot of the feedback I've gotten has been very, very positive and very, very helpful as well. So while I'm not saying that that's everyone's experience, because it's certainly not,
Mm.
I love hearing how much positivity has come out of sharing your journey and building a community about this, because it's just not expected. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think people, especially when they're starting something new, whether it be Western, whether it be something in rodeo, whether it be English, terrified to put it
Mm.
on the internet, terrifying. Or again,
Yeah.
you're just doing it out of like being naive and not realizing, potentially the pitfalls that may come your way.
Mm.
Yeah. So you've gotten lots more feedback, and where were we then?
So I think, I kind of I've lost track of it too in terms of, you know, the timing of it all.
Yeah.
But I think I got to a point where people were starting to say, and again, I don't know how long into this was, people were starting to be like, I think the foundational stuff is somewhat solid. You could probably start roping off your horse. And I
Cool.
was like, shit. Because that's like a whole other thing because
Well, yeah,
there's a
you've got
lot
to,
of there's a lot of moving parts.
yeah. Yeah, like I couldn't even think about doing that. Like, I had to pick up something off the ground the other day with my whip, and I was like, "Oh, this is so hard. Like, I got to hold the horse here and I've got to be down here." So,
Yeah.
yeah, so you've leveled up. You've gone from level 1 to level 2, and level 2 now includes live horse.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how do you, I suppose, how do you start practicing horseback wise?
Yeah, this was the bit that I really struggled with. So I think in terms of like teaching yourself to rope, really easy, right? Because to actually do that, you don't really need much at all. A
Did you
rope.
get a did you get a roping dummy as well, like a steer head or anything like
Um,
that?
I did have just the ones, the ones you stab into the ends of
Oh, yep.
the barrels.
Yep.
And this. This is interesting too. So I actually I didn't get a ton of hate on my videos. Most of the negative feedback was like, why are you roping the thing that you're roping? So the first thing I started roping was a road cone because I was like, I don't have anything else here. Like, what am I gonna? And people were like, why are you doing that? And I was like, well,
It seems
I
like an
don't know.
easy starting point as well. It's like it's cone shaped. Give yourself a bit of an easier way into it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it was like little cavalettis, you
Okay.
know. Um, and people were like, that's still probably not that great. Yeah, and then I got the steer's head,
Yeah.
the hay bale, which people were much happier with. But then a lot of feedback on you don't need the steer's head, you can just rope a hay bale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So switch to doing that. So I think in terms of like getting into roping, starting out in roping, really easy because you literally just need a rope and a bale of hay
Yeah,
and you're
cool.
set. But when it comes to like roping off your horse, how how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like
How
as
do you do
someone,
that?
yeah, as someone who has literally like pieced their roping experience together based on feedback from strangers on the internet, no real kind of coaching or instruction from anyone on the ground to go from roping a hay bale to roping off your horse. Like, what does that process look like? And I think for me, that was the bit where I struggled the most because I was like, I don't think at this point, this is where I can continue doing this on my own. Like, this is where I'm
Hmm.
going to need someone
Help.
experienced to kind of step in and help me.
Yeah.
And that
Like
was the
on the
part of it.
ground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was the part of it where I guess I was like, what now?
Best get
Yeah.
searching for someone who can help me with this problem. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah.
Like you can obviously ride, so that part of the equation is obviously off it, but I feel like this roping stuff, it seems very much timing based as well. Like you've got to get so many things right to be able to rope a calf or, grab the heel or the head or whatever.
Mm.
So where do you find a roping instructor? Is it just like finding any other instructor?
That's a great question. And that was exactly where what I asked myself as well. How the heck do you find someone to teach you this stuff when you don't know anyone who does this?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so I think I continued to just rope, the dummy on the ground for a really long
Hmm.
time because that was the bit that I struggled with, like actually finding someone that I could go to be like, hey, can you teach me how to
Yeah.
actually rope off my horse? Um, but I found a clinic, a roping clinic down at Mandalong.
Okay.
So that was, I guess, our first introduction to roping together, Chev and I.
Yeah.
So we went down to that. But I mean, even that was just it was a clinic, it was a one off thing.
Mm,
The thing I found, I think, the most difficult is that, like, lots of people who are in this space, and I mean, you probably see it in like English disciplines as well, is that people that are qualified to coach are also competing.
yes.
It's really hard to like lock someone's time down
Yes.
and get them, invested in you enough to take time out of, their schedule, their competitions.
Yes. And like I don't often see like I know people who rope, but I don't often see them like holding clinics or anything like that. Like
Mm.
they hold jackpots
Yeah.
and, actual competitive events. And it's like kind of
Mhm.
like, is it just a matter of just going and having a crack? Or but
Yeah,
you can't I just feel like you probably can't show up to a jackpot when you've never roped off your horse before.
that's right. And I think, and I still think now, I mean, we, I'm kind of jumping forward a little bit here.
Yeah, okay.
We kind of, we kind of got to a point where like we were doing that, but it's really hard, I think, to get that in between experience.
Yeah.
You're right. You can't just show up at a jackpot and be like, I'm going to do this, having never tracked a cow before.
Well, I'm sure
but
you could,
most,
but it might not be that
yeah,
fun.
I probably wouldn't enjoy yourself.
No.
Um, and I think most people, like, unless you bought into it, you know, the child of someone who does it themselves, or you have friends that do it or whatever, it's really hard to find or make those opportunities to learn.
Yeah, I reckon it would be. So,
Mm.
where did you end up with this?
Yeah, so we went to that. God, I can't even remember. This is so bad. Like, I have the worst memory. I can't remember the dates or anything. But we went to this clinic, um, and it was really great. I mean, we roped the sled dummy. We didn't rope any live calves, because the group, they were all essentially like me. You know, everyone was new to
Mm,
roping. They'd never roped before. So they were like, we're
yeah.
just going to rope the dummy today. And then I think that added a whole other layer of like, wow, this is actually really hard. I think, I mean, I kind of felt like every time you, and this is probably, it's not, you know, a unique experience, it's probably universal to every equestrian discipline. Every time you get to a certain point with something where you're like, yes, I've nailed this, and then you go on to the next step of that, you almost feel like you're back at square one and you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay, now there's
yes.
all these other things to learn.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah.
One day, what is it? What's the one about one day a rooster, next day a feather duster?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely get that. It's like for in dressage, it's like you move up the level. So you've got like your prep, which is kind of like you're just starting out. It's just like walk trot test. Then
Hmm.
you do prelim, which is walk, trot, and canter, lots of circles, just like working on, bend and, getting your horse comfortable and moving forward and blah, 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 blah. Then you get to novice, which is where I'm at now, where you start adding in, a little bit of lateral work and XYZ. And everything kind of leads into the next level. But yeah, it can be you nail those things right. You're like, oh, I've got my transitions good. Or, oh, I've got these 20-meter circles looking more 20-meter than anyone else has.
Mm.
They're crispy, and then you move on to something else and it's kind of like it can feel like you're right back at the start of prep
Mm.
again,
Yeah.
mentally, even though you're not. But I think this is just the thing that happens to horse people as well, who are just very, very passionate and really want to get something right.
Mm.
You build up that confidence with doing something, and then, you kind of get a bit unsteady when something new comes through. But I think it's just
Yeah.
because you want to do the best by your horse. You want to do the best by yourself and the time and the energy that you're putting into these things, and you just want to get it right, but it just doesn't happen like that, does it?
No. No, it doesn't.
uh,
Too, like, the it depends on what you feel comfortable with too. Like, if you were happy to just, I guess if I frame it from my situation, if I was happy to just like rope the dummy for, the rest of time and just get really good at that, then that's great. And I could do that. And that would be, me staying in my comfort zone. But if you want to do more, then you have to be willing to kind of accept that you're going to take that step backwards and kind
and
of have to start over again.
it's not actually going backwards though, is it? That's the
No.
thing. Like and
Yeah.
I think it feels like you're going backwards. It definitely does, but it's why sometimes when people wait until they're good enough to
Mm.
do something, never end up doing it, because you probably never will get good enough to do it unless you kind of go, okay, I'm going to have to put my big
Yeah.
belt girl pants on and I'm going to have to do the next thing or go to the next
Yeah.
level,
Be willing to step
yeah,
into that space that's uncomfortable and
even if
scary.
your heart is in your ass, you
Yeah.
must go forward, keep
Yeah.
breathing. And even if you stuff it up the first time, then at least the next time's going to be just that teeny weeny little bit easier.
Yeah. That's right.
So is that what happened? Did you end up, you've obviously gone and you've roped off the sled, and, I see from your videos now that you're obviously not doing it with Chevy at the moment because he's having some time off, because of
Mm.
his asthma. But is that where you're at now, where you're on the sled still, or have you
Yeah.
progressed onto like a live beast yet?
No, so we went to that clinic, and it was great, and we learned a ton, and came home with some, I guess, exercises that we could do at home without having a sled dummy. So just
Hmm.
roping off Chev, roping something stationary.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of that, and then I found a coach who I could work with, ongoing and do lessons. Yay! Yeah.
Congratulations.
Um,
That's amazing.
yeah. Um, so we were doing bits and pieces of that. And I mean, there was a decent chunk of time between that clinic and that happening. Like it was
Yeah.
probably, God, I would say at least 6 months.
Mm.
And again, that's a thing, like really, really hard to get your foot in the door when you don't really know anyone
No.
in that world.
Yeah.
So we were really fortunate that, we found Michelle and that she was, willing to teach us and we were doing that. And then we, yeah, we were going up to Scone for lessons once a month and then
Yeah,
just
cool.
doing bits and pieces in between at home. We got to the point where we were like consistently tracking and roping the dummy. And then Chev decided that he would get salmonella.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
horses
So
horses get salmonella. Okay, I've learnt something
they
new today.
do.
I need to write that one
Yeah.
down.
Hmm. Yeah.
How does one as an equine get salmonella?
Um, well, they can pick it up in lots of ways.
Okay.
My vet wasn't really sure as to how he got it. So it was October. When was that? Our last lesson would have been September. And
Hmm.
it was the first lesson where I was like, where I came away from it and I didn't feel, I don't want to say negative because not, it wasn't negative, but where I just felt really good about it. You
Hmm.
have those lessons where you're like, I'm finally starting to get it. Like the pieces are
Yep.
finally starting to click.
Hmm.
We had a lesson that was really, really great. And I made this really great catch on the sled. And I was like, yes, like we're finally getting it.
This
I'm
is
starting
it.
to understand him. The pieces are starting to come together. And then the following week, he was diagnosed with salmonella. So,
Ah, no, no, Jemmy. This
yeah,
is not good.
yeah.
Oh,
So
oh my God.
I had a call from a friend who was like, your horse is acting really weird in the paddock. Like he
Okay.
keeps like laying down and then getting up and bucking on the
Oh,
spot. And he just
oh,
seems really weird. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went out to see him and I was like, man, he's fine. Like he's bullying the other horses in the paddock. Like I don't know what's wrong with him. Went home. They called me again and they were like, yeah, he's still like he's doing it again. He still seems really weird. So I was like, okay, I'll call the vet, thinking maybe, he's got a bit of colic or something. The vet comes out and he's like, yeah, it does seem a bit colicky, but he also has a temperature.
okay.
And she's weird because we don't usually see that with colic. He's like, just keep an eye on him overnight, see how he goes. Call me tomorrow if anything's, gotten
Worse.
worse or
Yeah.
if you don't think he's improved. So from that point, he kind of just started to go downhill. Um, so I called the vet the next day and he was like, yeah, you should probably bring him in. They still at this point thought it was colic. So they did all the things that they do for colic. And I left him there for, I think it was there for 3 days to start with.
Was this Scone or was
Yes.
it Newcastle?
Newcastle. And then they were like, he seems really good. Um, it was a Saturday. They were like, he seems really good. You can come and pick him up. And I was like,
Okay.
perfect. He's just had a little bout of colic.
He'll be fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Um, so I brought him home and kept him yarded because they were like, oh, you need to do all the things, monitor his fluid intake, monitor the number of times he poos, all of that sort of stuff. He wouldn't eat. He was just still really off.
Off it. Yeah.
He was
Oh
barely
dear.
drinking. He wasn't eating. I think he did like one poo overnight. And I called him the next day and I was like, I don't know, he's still really weird. Like he doesn't seem
Right.
himself. Like I'm not
Yeah.
happy with him. And they were like, yep, that is weird. Bring him back in. So I took him back in on a Sunday. Um,
Oh
and
dear.
when we got there, the vet was like, I'm really glad you brought him back because when he came in, we did a fecal stain or something.
Okay.
I don't know. And he's got salmonella.
Holy dooly.
And I was like,
What?
What? Oh,
Things, yeah,
okay.
wouldn't on nobody's bingo card.
That's weird. So they kept him, I think they must have kept him for another 4 days because I think he was in there about a week all up. And during this time they were tubing him because they were worried mostly about him being dehydrated. Um, and then obviously because he was being tubed so often he wasn't eating, so he lost a bunch of weight. They had to slowly start introducing feeds, like refeeding him. Um, but yeah, I mean, he was really lucky. I
Yeah.
can't remember now. I think the vet said something like 60% of horses that get salmonella don't live.
Oh my God. I've been
Um,
giggling my way through this because I thought it was just, a really random thing to happen. This is very serious. Oh my God. And is
but there's a
it,
happy ending, so I feel like, you know what I mean?
well,
He's
I know he's
fine.
alive,
Yeah,
even though he may now be an
but
asthmatic.
I feel like that's okay. Yeah. So it was just really odd. But so the vet said, because he was like, oh, do like could rodents have been in your feed? Because apparently
Okay.
rats can carry it.
Right.
And I was like, no, not possible. It lives in my garage at home. Like it's all in tubs.
Yeah.
Don't have rodents. But it was right after it would have been we had that flood last year. We
Ah,
had all that water and stuff. And
yes. Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah.
it was around
So the
then.
yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the vet was like, maybe he's just picked it up in the paddock because apparently a lot of birds and stuff carry it in their feces.
How interesting and very terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like it was I know that time of year lots of people were being very cautious about their horses going back onto pastures that had been underwater. Just
Mhm.
because of, you don't know what kind of contamination has come through.
Mhm.
I think it's all fine now, but yeah, crazy. Oh my God,
Mhm.
how insane. And is it common? Like, is this a common thing that happens to horses? No?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so. So apparently, a lot of horses carry it. They're carriers,
Okay.
but they don't necessarily like have the symptoms
Mm,
of salmonella. Like they won't
okay.
often get sick from it.
Oh dear. And did he have like any digestive upset? Like, did he have diarrhea or anything like that? Or it
No.
was just the rolling and the grumpiness and oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
apparently, it really commonly presents with diarrhea, and
Okay.
that's what generally, like, if horses do die from it, that's generally like the cause because they end up
Yeah, the
dehydrated.
dehydration. Yeah.
So he was really, I mean, I don't want to say lucky because he still had salmonella, but he was really lucky that he went the other way.
Yeah, okay.
Um, he didn't have diarrhea until sort of like the last few days, but I think that's because they were tubing him
Okay.
so often
Mm.
and giving him electrolytes and stuff. Um, but yeah, it was those initial like symptoms of him laying down and biting at his stomach. He had a fever. He wasn't eating or drinking, and yeah, he wasn't pooing.
God, so it was just like, where's it going?
Mhm.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so glad that he pulled through. Like, this sounds
Yeah.
so terrifying as a horse owner. Like I said, I
Mhm.
feel awful for giggling at the start of it. There's nothing worse than your horse being unwell and, touch wood,
Mm.
nothing's coming my way like this. But, I
No.
know people who have gone through this kind of stuff and it's terrifying. It's terrifying
Mm.
not knowing,
Yeah.
especially not knowing what's going on as well. With the
Hmm.
horses presenting symptoms that are very, nasty. Oh
Mm.
my God. So he's got the salmonella. I know he's better now. And now the
Mm.
asthma thing has happened. So you've had a big stop you've had that great last roping session back in September. And like,
Hmm.
I'm sure he will get back on track. You know, this little respiratory thing hopefully will
Mm.
just be able to be managed. But I suppose this year, what are your goals once Chevy is back to being the best Chevy can be?
Mm.
What are your goals this year with your roping, with your breakaway roping?
Yeah. So the goal, I mean, the goal this year was before the asthma thing to start doing some
Mm,
jackpots. So there are a couple of ACTRA affiliated clubs, not close. I think the closest to us is about 3.5 hours away.
hmm.
They run something called Starter Breakaway,
Cool.
where they have you do two runs. So one of them's roping the sled dummy,
Hmm.
and then the other is a live calf, but
Cool.
apparently they pick out the slow ones.
So they give
So
you a
you've
bit of help.
actually yeah, so you've got a shot at actually catching. Um, yeah, so the plan was before the asthma to,
Yeah.
keep going to lessons.
Mm.
And then yeah, to hopefully start doing some of those starter breakaway
Yeah, cool. So
jackpot
that's kind
events.
of, I suppose, like that's the natural next progression is
Mm,
to, that kind of high, it's like a jackpot, but it's kind of got that still, that learning element like built into it. I'm so happy that you
yeah.
found a pathway though, because like and thank you for sharing that with me, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are listening to this episode who are like, oh, I'd really like to get into breakaway roping. That's why I'm listening to it. And you've
Yeah.
just shared with them a little bit of a blueprint on how to get started, which I think
Mm.
is super duper, um, you know, super duper important.
I think too, reaching out to like I've contacted quite a few clubs. There are clubs that are, I guess, closer to where I am. And the feedback kind of generally is that they don't run starter breakaway events because they don't get a lot of interest.
Mm.
Which I mean could just be down to people not asking too.
Yeah, or
I think if
knowing to ask.
yeah, if you're in like a similar position to me where like you're looking to get a foot in the door, then make it known to clubs because I mean they're basing it on, whether people have contacted them or not about that sort of stuff. If they know people are interested, I'm sure they'll run those events.
And I think it's so important these days as well. With just the way that the world is going, and that like some events are starting to die off a little bit in terms of participation numbers and stuff like that. Like if
Mm.
you want to get involved, like it's really important that yes, okay, you're going to feel a bit silly, like we all do when we start things, but put your hand up, because at the end of the day, like, you've got just as much right to go and learn how to do these things as anybody else. And
Yeah.
even though some people did start maybe when they were younger, and that they are part of these like generational families who have been in the rodeo disciplines, or in Western performance, or even in English, like dressage, show jumping, blah, blah, blah. Like there is no reason why you can't put your foot in the stirrup every day and work towards being a competitive at whatever level you want to be competitive at.
Mm.
I think it's just so important to have that belief. And I think one of the beautiful things that I love about your content, Alyssa, is just that you just really backed yourself through this. And I think that's where people can kind of fall down a little bit. So have you got any like advice for anyone, I suppose, who's starting something new, whether it be looking at breakaway roping, whether it be something in Western, whether it be something in English? Have you got some advice for them to kind of help, get on track and kind of get there?
Mm. Yeah, I think you just need to start.
I
I
so
think,
agree with that.
yeah, what you said before about waiting until everything is perfect to start doesn't work because you end up just not starting because the
Yeah.
timing is never really perfect. I think too, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I think I wasn't afraid to put myself out, I guess, on social media because I think you have that little bit of like disconnect between you and what is posted there. It's really easy to kind of switch off from that. It's not like showing up to an event and being like, hey, like, I want to do this. Can we be friends?
So true.
But but I think the social media really kind of like opened the door for me in terms of some of the connections that I've made as well. I don't necessarily think it was a very like conventional pathway into something. But I've met some really great people on social media, people who I'm really lucky now to say, I've met in person and they're my actual friends. Um, so I think, you know, use social media to your advantage, but don't be afraid to actually show up at events too. I've had girls who I've met on social media come up to me at events and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize you were going to be here. Is your horse here? Are you riding? Like, why are you not riding? Um, I don't think you need to be as scared about it as you think. It's not as scary as you think it is.
I
At
so
least
agree
that
with
was my
that.
experience.
And with dressage, I definitely felt the same way when I first started. I was like, oh, I've got an off the track thoroughbred. Like, I'm going to turn up to this thing and everyone's going to laugh at me and like think that I'm so silly because all you see is kind of like the top end, perform like the people who are winning medals or getting the over the
Mhm.
80% and up at Grand Prix and stuff like that. But then I started actually going to like a few clinics just as like a fence sitter,
Mm.
and just talking to a few people, and I was just watching people and some of the things that they were going through in the arena with their horses when they were getting their clinic or their lesson with the coach or whatever, and they were having problems just like me. Like they weren't coming out and giving a 100% perfect performance. And then, I found the same thing when I actually started competing. Like people, there was only probably one or two people in the lower level classes who were getting those really, really strong scores. Like the rest of us were kind of just working through, what we were working through on the day, and just going to get a little bit better from the last time. And it's not embarrassing at all. Like it when you're thinking about it, it feels like you're going to be embarrassed. But when you
Mhm.
actually go and do it and you start seeing that other people are just as scared and worried about what other people are going to think as well, then you start getting that like collective feeling of like, you know what, this is so fine.
Mhm.
We're all here
Yeah.
to learn together. And, I won't sit here and say that there aren't people within the horse community that, are difficult and,
Mm.
are not nice, like are really nice people, because there are some people who are a little bit challenging. But
Mm.
you'll get that anywhere, of trying
Mhm.
anything new. Like that's not just specific to horse people. And you shouldn't let the thought of that one out of, 10 people stop you from booking in for that clinic, or going, oh, I'm going to go buy my first rope, or I'm going to go buy a cowboy hat. Just doing that little step towards the goal. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, if you wait until you're getting it 100% right, like it's
Mm.
never going to happen. You've got to go out and do it.
That's right. And I think we've all been guilty of that.
Yes.
Like I know when I was making that transition from roping the dummy to being like, okay, I need to go and rope off my horse, I would fall back into that position of being like, okay, but you still really don't have this thing perfect or this aspect of your roping perfect. When the reality was, I probably didn't need to have it perfect at all. I just needed to go out and do it.
It's just like anything, like it's so true. And I think I see so many people fall into the trap of, oh, I can't go because I don't feel like I'm ready. But yeah,
Mm.
you've just got to do it. I think, like, not no one's saying
Yeah.
go into like the top level competition when you're not ready, but
Yeah. Take those like small controlled steps out of your comfort zone.
that's right. Just little
Mm.
things, like, every couple of months to kind of grow
Mhm.
where you are. And I think, you look back at it 12 months later and you go, wow, all those tiny little
Yeah.
steps that I've taken this year have
Mhm.
really added up to
Yeah.
a big thing.
Mm.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining me today, Alyssa. I think, your story is wonderful. I think it's going to be really, really beneficial for a lot of people who are listening today. And thank you for everyone for joining us again today for another episode of Just Stable Enough. Um, how am I going to end this podcast? I don't know what to say at the end here.
You need a little like outro
I
line.
do. I feel like I need an outro line, but I will figure one out. But yeah, I think for now it's going to be, just maybe thank you for coming to our TED Talk today. And if
Yeah.
anyone please follow Alyssa. It's Alyssa Jane. Is it Alyssa Jane K? Is that it?
Yeah. Alyssa Jane K underscore, I think, is most of them, I think.
On
God,
TikTok,
it's terrible. I don't
Instagram.
even know. Yeah.
If you want to keep up to date with, everything that's going on, with Alyssa, Chevy, the farm, the new arena that she's just built, which is
Hmm.
very nice. Hopefully doesn't need a change in surface in the near future.
Oh, God, I hope not.
Surely
I
not,
hope
surely
not.
not. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll see you for the next episode.